Welcome back to Two Brothers Comics. Today, we're going to talk about pressing and cleaning. This is something we've seen coming up in our videos on the comment section. So we brought in someone we thought would have a great response to that. If you're interested in hearing about that, hit the like button while the intro plays and stay tuned. Now, guys, we have seen you guys dropping comments a lot lately on our videos concerning pressing and cleaning, whether it be positive remarks, negative remarks, or just questions in general. And it was definitely something we wanted to cover, but I didn't want to do it alone. I wanted to bring in someone that I thought could really add some value to this conversation. And you guys have seen him before, and we hope that this is not, again, the last time we see this guy. One of the best people on YouTube, my buddy Skeff from Skeff's Comic Knowledge. What's up, brother?
Hello.
Come on, man. Give it to us. Give it to us.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the show tonight. Hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a fun time.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We had a great response to the last video we did together. And I know that this is a topic that you are very, very familiar with. We have had conversations about it. It's stuff that I've heard you coach other people along about. You gave me pointers about it. So I thought, who better to bring on to give our subscribers some knowledge than Skeff's comic knowledge?
I try. It's something I'm very passionate about, and it's been a learned subject for me over the past year and a half. And it's a skill that I don't have yet, but it's a skill I very much appreciate that other people have learned in their successes of pressing books.
Absolutely. And it can be something that not only makes you money in the sense of being able to provide a service for people, but save you money when you can do it yourself, especially for someone like you who sends off the massive amount of books to be graded that you do. You know, I mean, $8 to $10 a book starts adding up after a while. So once you can learn that yourself, man, then that's more money you can put into the books. And I mean, that's more cherry on top than anything.
And time. And the time too.
Right.
Or sending it to somebody else and things like that. Yeah, you save that as well.
Absolutely. So Skeff, what is it that would make a book need to be pressed? What are some things that are definitely, when you look at a book, you pick up a raw book at the shop, maybe even brand new Comic Book Day books, and you look at it and you say, hey, this could do really well with a press, could improve the grade on it. What are some dead giveaways?
So dead giveaways are, as actually I have an example with me right now. If I can get it on camera. See right there?
Yep.
Well, yep, that's a dead giveaway. Like, so in instance, someone went to go pick up the book and, oh, there we go. Grab the book. They put their thumb there, indent. That's usually a dead giveaway of like something that's easily pressed out by someone who knows what they're doing. So when you have people hand stacks of books on the shelf, you see some indents on the spine. The indents, it takes a lot for it to break color, but things like that come out fairly easily if the presser knows what they're doing. And then like there could be some rippling on the books as well, depending on how many were packed in those diamond boxes, or if they were wrapped in twine, like some of those Last Ronin books that we saw.
Yep. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think a lot of Boom Studios books come from overseas. Do they?
Yeah.
And so moisture, you can tell when the moisture gets in them because you can literally look at the book and you can see it doing this number. And so, I mean, yeah, again, that's something that definitely is going to hurt you grade-wise if you send it to CGC, but can be easily resolved with a press and take you from something like a 9.2 to a 9.4. So
potentially.
I mean, like Skeff said, the little creases on the corner, on the spine there, and a lot of shops, I don't know what your experience is, but a lot of shops don't bag and board the books when they put them on the shelves for new Comic Book Day. So
it's true.
That's another thing. You got people obviously going to be looking for the right one, and they're going to be hitting spines.
And are they on one of those like wired racks? Because if they're on the wired racks and the book is sitting there, that wire rack can like affect the bottom of the book as well.
Right.
It depends on how they're stacked up and things like that. Like luckily the shop that I shop at most, they bag and board every book before it goes on the shelf.
Yep. Same with mine.
So, like, if your shop does that, man, give them kudos, because that takes forever.
It does. I've assisted the guys at my shop when I come in on New Comic Book Day and it's like 3:30 in the afternoon, they just got books in.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, give me some bags and boards. And it does. It takes a lot of time because you got to put the boards, you board all the bags first, then you put all the books in.
Yep.
And plus, like, they're saving you money too, because
there's a free bag and board they don't have to do. It's just an service to help provide you to hopefully not get books as pressed as often by keeping them in good shape. But yeah, you're 100% correct though. Like, books on New Comic Book Day, if they are not stacked properly, can suffer the damage from that even like a couple days later.
Absolutely. Now, what would be some things that people sometimes misconstrue as being able to be fixed by a press, do you think?
So that is when it comes down to maybe rubbing and or color breaking spine ticks, but not to such a significant degree. So even if there's slight rubbing on the bends themselves, it will still count it down from that value, because at the end of the day, it has removed color off the book. So a lot of people think that, like, once it gets pressed out, it'll be good to go. And that's not always the case. And color rubbing nowadays, because the ink that you see nowadays on a lot of books isn't as high quality as the ink from, you know, back then. So, like, there is more rubbing more often, and those can never be pressed out. It's just little things like that. Like, anytime color is gone off the book, that is a not pressable defect at all. So.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's something that it took me a minute to really understand, like, what was pressable, what wasn't. You know, I would hear people when me and Nick used to do the Facebook auctions saying, oh, it's got some pressable defects here and here. And I'm like, okay, well, what's pressable defect and what's not? So, like, we didn't really know what to say when we were selling. This is a pressable defects on this one. This is not. So,
but you hear that a lot, don't you, nowadays? That's
right.
a very common thing to say, because, you know, the new age that we live in with no conventions, everyone is now selling books online, and they're all like, oh, this is a this is at a 9.0, but it has some pressable defects, which easily get it to a 9.2. But at the end of the day, what you determine as pressable defects is not the same to someone else.
Right.
So unless you see the book in person, it's extremely difficult to figure out where to go from there for pressable defects, because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't know what they are, then, you know, it's very difficult to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times with pressing, we hear cleaning. So kind of what do you consider to be? I know that we have dry cleaning.
Yes.
And then there's chemical cleaning. So let's talk about the dry cleaning.
And the moisture barrier too. So with moisture barriers too, to help pull some of that dirt out. Most of the time, I have a great example of this book. Now, when it comes to cleaning, there are some really great cleaners on this YouTube platform that actually go through the process and show you step by step on what to do. I am kind of a novice in that category, but the process of the dry cleaning is when you have Q-tips, light erasers, certain colored erasers work better on certain books than others, with like either yellow covers or white backs. And that's where you kind of like spot cleaning, where you're looking for dirt to remove off the book without actually removing. You don't want to remove any of the gloss.
Right.
That's what you want to avoid. And if you're not experienced at doing it, it can be very bad, because CGC will notice giant creases where there's no dirt, but it's like, what happened? Yeah. So,
you could definitely go a little too far with an eraser, and the barrier of perfect and you just ruin the book is so minute. It is incredible.
So that's one thing that there are great tutorials online for that, or dry cleaning process. And I have a great presser at Impressive Comic Pressing Services, where he was able to take a book that was actually just dirty. It was an ASM 100, and it was just super dirty. He's able to clean up that black cover book and bump it up to a 9.0 because of the dirt. But it is something that's the most tedious part. I do believe DS Comics talks about the tediousness of just dry cleaning the book. Yeah. That's an art form in itself. So take your time and learn some things if you ever want to step into that realm.
Yeah, and some people are good enough to be able to even remove like pencil and sometimes depending on how bad it is, how dark it is, ink even sometimes.
Correct.
And that's a huge plus, man, because you get a giant size X-Men one that some kid got a colored pencil after, and everything else on it's like really nice, but it's got some colored pencil on it. I mean, if you can find someone that can get that off, I mean, that is a huge bump for that book for you.
It is, and then like and that old school grease pencil too that you see on a lot of the dates on the books, and that's where the humidifier, in essence, where people will place the book inside of that like water chamber. It's actually not in the water, but it's just to help loosen the dirt on the book, then to make it easier to clean off. Like, I understand the process of it. I just don't trust myself yet to do it.
I hear you there, man. I hear you, because me and Nick talking about trying to learn to press ourselves, and we both have different confidence levels, I think, because I'm like, man, even if I did $100 books perfectly, I would still be terrified to put one of my Silver Age goodies in there.
You should.
I mean, because
should, my friend.
It's like you do it right 100 times, but that one time you mess up might be on this, $500 book, and that would be just horrible because there's no going back.
No. And that's something that's very important to, at the end of the day, like if this is the first time you ever hear about pressing is 100% never guaranteed, no matter what anyone says.
Yeah, it is a risk.
It is. So like if you're new to pressing, you're like, oh, I can press every book and get a 9.8. That is incorrect. That is not true. And if you believe it, I have some magic jelly beans to sell you if you want to DM me down later in the comments below. But no, it is a massive, just like the whole process of once you've taken your book from your hands and then you've sent it away, then who knows what's going to happen. Like everything's at risk from that point out, and you have to. The goal is not for anything to happen, but you have to assume the worst. So anything can happen. Like I had a friend who damaged one of my Venom #3 third prints. But that was back when it was only like $100 book, and he was able to buy one online and get it replaced. But like things can happen. The goal is not to let it happen as often, but it can. So, there is a risk when you go to try to increase the condition on the book.
Yeah. And I think that kind of takes us into the next topic of making sure whoever you decide to send your books to is a reputable person. Yeah. And there's several ways to find that out, especially with the community we have. I mean, you can reach out and ask any of us here, creators, talk to people on Instagram. And if you find someone, then check them out. Yeah. And if they're on Instagram, go back and look to their Instagram, see who they've pressed books for, and talk to those people, ask questions, make sure the person you're sending it to is a reputable person, because like Skeff said, even with someone that is like, I mean, you take the best guy on the planet at it. Yeah. Your book could be the one that just somehow magically a mistake happens. I mean, and it does happen. So you want to make sure that you pick someone super, super reputable to minimize, the chance of that happening. Right.
And if they're insured, that's a win. If they're insured, that's definitely a win.
That is huge. Yeah.
It never hurts to ask that as well. But it is a very interesting process of like, if you're not going to learn how to do it yourself and you're going to trust someone else with the books, it's a very interesting process to siphon through and figure out what's going to work best for you in your budget and in your time frame. It's something that, and also, if it's insured, like if you're dealing with like $1,000 book, $2,000 books, and you want to send it, you want to make sure that the person, if anything heaven forbid does happen, you're covered. You can worry a little bit less.
Right. A good example I just sent off recently, a couple months ago, Volume 1 TMNT first prints 2, 3, 4, Raphael #1 signed by Eastman, the shattered variant shattered cover for issue #1. I sent all those off. They are. And they are, and they were, super, super high grade books. So I knew they were already very valuable. Yep. And I reached out to several people, and this is another thing too. Reach out and speak to the pressers about what you're wanting to send them first, because I talked to a couple of people who said they didn't want to mess with the turtle books because it's a different kind of paper. It's a different kind of book. It's harder to press. Oh yeah. And some people flat out told me, I don't feel comfortable messing with those. The guy that runs my shop, he presses and cleans books. And he told me, he's like, hey man, if you really want me to, I will, but I would rather you find someone who has experience with these. And so I reached out to my buddy Hoodat, who is, you know, he sends turtle books all the time. He got me in touch with Avery Pressing, and Avery Pressing was great because you go online, he's got a submission form. Everything's very organized. He's insured. You set the insurance rate on your books. So of course I set mine high. You know, I set mine probably, I figured out what I thought the books were worth raw, and just in case I put another $500 on it.
Oh yeah.
So just in case that I was wrong, because I mean, at the time I sent them, like, turtles were jumping up so much week to week. It was hard to tell. But I knew he was a reputable presser and cleaner overall, but also, you know, with the turtle books exclusively, he was very, very good with those. And so that was who I picked. So that's definitely a very important thing to remember too, is making sure you communicate with the presser, people that he's done work, that they've done work for, and just like you would anything else. I mean, if you're going to have a roof put on your house, you're going to go look and see what kind of reviews they got. You're not just going to hire Joe Schmo off the, you know, at the Home Depot to come take care of it. Do
some homework. At the end of the day, it's your books. Don't blindly follow. Do some homework, because at the end of the day, it's extremely important. Also, you mentioned how you don't want to do the TMNT books. Paper quality is a huge factor that some people may forget when submitting books and or pressing books, like foil covers, cardstock covers, that super thin ash can paper covers. It's all different, and each presser has to be acquired to handle that type of material in order to not burn anything.
Absolutely.
Or cause any rolls on those like foil cardstock ones.
Absolutely.
So it's great to message them first and let them know what you have before you send them off.
Yeah.
It's just more, and that's the great part too about using a third party. Like when he has your books, he'll send you pictures, right? How they did before and after immediately, or like, hey, this one's not going to make the cut. Do you still want to send it? No, just send it back. I'll eat the shipping and just send it back my way.
Yep, absolutely. You were talking about the different types of covers with the cardstock and the foils. So one I have here that I can show off. Everybody knows I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. This one here is like a cardstock gold foil cover.
Embossed, right?
Yep, and it's embossed. And you can see this crease right here that goes all the way across. And that's the only thing keeping this book, in my opinion, which
I see it too. I
does
saw the
not
crease.
Matter anymore.
Oh, that crease. I see it right there. It's by the hand.
Yep.
You see it very clearly.
There's a little one right next to it too. But I mean, everything else about this book is really, really nice. But a lot of people that I've talked to have said like that a book like this is not something that they would put in a press because it's embossed because of the certain type of foil it is. So sometimes when you get something like this, you're just kind of out of luck on it. You know, you just got to be happy with what you got. And, you know, I've got 3 or 4 of these.
Oh man.
And I'm telling you, man, no luck so far. There's a couple of 9/8s out there. I don't know how they did it, but
trade all 4 of them for the 9/8 for the one.
Right. Exactly. And, so yeah, you know, you brought that up. So I definitely thought that would be a good example to show there of something that, on a regular type of cover would definitely be a pressable defect, but you do have those certain types of books that it's just like, kind of just is what it is, you know? So with talking about, pressing and cleaning and talking about, reputable pressers, the big argument all the time we hear about, is do you use CGC's presser versus finding your own? A lot of people have different opinions on it. Some people say, well, you know, they work for CGC, so they're going to do the best job possible because they work for CGC. And some people say, well, they're not going to put as much effort into it and love into it because they're pushing out so many. CGC just wants them to get them done and get them out. And they've already got the work, so they're not really as worried about it because they're not going to run out of work. You know, my personal thoughts is I would rather send my books to someone that I can sit and have a conversation with.
Which is huge.
Yeah, you know, that I can have anytime I need to contact them, ask them a question or anything, like we can be in direct contact at all times. And then you have the wait times is going to be a lot different too. So what are your thoughts on all that?
So for the limited time that I've actually had the privilege of being in this community of getting books graded, I have actually used CCS's pressing services. I want to say probably about 60 times.
Okay.
And I've actually had great results from the quantity of time, aside from the wait time. Wait time, hot garbage.
Yeah.
It's like at least 6 months.
Yep.
They are in no rush to get you the books back after they're pressing. But I've had great results. So I have a very early video where I sent out 9 copies of Venom #3, the third printing.
Mm-hmm.
They were all signed by Donny Cates because I had them all signed by him at New York ComiKon. They all had a roll on the spine. All 9 of them, because that's the reason I was able to get them on such a good deal. They all had rolls in the spine. So I'm just like, all right, got them all signed. They looked great. Sent them all to CCS, and that was one of my very first videos where I hit all 9/8 on signed books pressed by CCS. So they were able to press out those rolls, and I have no qualms with that at all. But at the end of the day, I still would rather just go with a third-party independent presser for the fact that you have constant communication, and let's say something happens, it's much easier of a challenge to deal with them than it would be with CCS. And the fact that if something does happen, something doesn't get pressed out, you have the ability to get the book back.
Yeah.
Going through that process of like pre-screens, hopefully we have to send so many out, or like getting a 9.0 back, which would be terrible.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one thing where that's one thing is where I find the value of CCS, and you are 100% correct. They are probably pressing like 500 books a day more.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
More than 500 books a day. So think about that, guys. They're pressing more than 500 books a day easily. So there's a bunch of them. They're trying to get through them. They have all the signings where books are then getting quick pressed that are bumped in front of others. So like they're getting through them. So anything that needs a little extra love or that extra press, maybe on the fence there. But otherwise, I've had good luck with them. And especially if you get any books signed at a show and you're going to get it graded and you care about the grade, for the love of God, get it pressed, or I don't want to hear you complain about the grade.
Yeah, because I mean, anytime one person handles that book, like, again, you're taking that chance.
Yep.
So, eliminate as much possibility for error as possible.
Right.
And, I think that's been the biggest grievance I think most people have had with CCS is the wait times. And I think a lot of that is chalked up to a lot of people, I don't think really, I would be willing to think a lot of people don't know that there is that many third-party pressers out there that are available. Right. And that's what's causing this multitude of books to come in so often with them. I mean, it's never a slowdown. And like you said, it's like 6 months. I know Nick sent a book in and it was received on like August 2nd. And I think he got the books back like 2 weeks ago.
It was that Venom, right?
Yes. Yeah, second week of February or second week of January, he got it back. So,
it is a painstakingly long process, and it's not worth the cost. Yeah. To get them like quick pressed. Don't forget a quick press. Like, side note, side tangent here. This is just my opinion. I'm an idiot. You don't have to believe me. I don't believe in quick presses. Only because the trick is that if it's a quick press and the fact that they just do a simple little and then they move on, you've wasted your money. It's done nothing. It's just not worth it. What I recommend doing instead is that don't do the quick press. Just fast track the book and do the normal press. Yep. If you want to try to get it back faster. But maybe a lot of people use it for convenience. Like maybe they have anyone nearby, or like just they like sending a book CGC ready and they don't mind waiting. Like sometimes it's convenience and they don't want to like step outside the bubble. But there are opportunities out there, and a lot of great pressers are the same exact cost as CCS. Yeah. And they can submit to CGC for you to save you 20% off the grading fees and the fast track fees if you want it back faster.
Yep. That's exactly what I was about to say next. And you covered it exactly. I mean, I would say the majority, I have not spoke to someone about pressing and cleaning books who will not give you the option to submit for you, and they'll submit it on their account.
Yep, they have to,
and you get the discounts a lot of times. Yep. So I mean, it works great. And I've never used CCS. I've just basically been using someone different every single time I've sent books out, just feeling out like, different people. And I've used 2 of the local shops here. I used my buddy Jimmy, the Geek aficionado. I've used Avery now. Yeah. So I mean, I'm and I don't know if I'll continue to use any of these, continuing on. Like I said, I'm just kind of looking at which process seemed like it was, the most effortless, or I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't think just one submission from someone is enough to really be able to make a judgment, because you really don't know. So, I mean, I'll probably continue to just, kind of swap around. The thing with Avery that I like I said, is you got the online submission form. Yeah. And he seemed extremely organized there. Everything was pretty much in black and white right in front of your face. When he gets the books, he lets you know. When he gets ready to press them and send them off, he sends you a bill then. And he lets you know when they go to CGC, lets you know when they get there, and, they come right back to you. So with the turtle books, that was definitely the route I'm going to keep going with those. So, but I think the biggest thing is don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking that CCS is the only option, especially if you have any intentions on sending like a hot book in. and getting it back in time to try to make some money on it. CCS is not your friend there.
No,
that is not your friend, because a lot can happen in 6 months. 6 months ago, Ninja Turtles was the hottest thing on the planet, and now I'm seeing them kind of dip back down to the $5-10 range. And Star Wars is going nuts.
Everything is in cycles. Everything. This is going to be a small. Everything goes in cycles, and don't overpay for certain modern things. They'll come back down.
Absolutely. So we've got a couple more things to cover. Next thing I want to talk about, we've been talking about sending things to CGC through CCS or through your presser. Yeah. When you buy a book already graded,
yes,
is it possible that book could be cracked open, pressed, cleaned, resubmitted, and get a grade bump?
No. Not at all, actually.
Oh, okay.
So this has become what us cool kids like to refer to it as CPR. You don't know mouth to mouth in the book. Just you crack it and you press it and you resubmit it. It's a term that I stole from somebody else. I claim not that term. But it's a very common thing nowadays, and a lot of people are doing it because the cost efficiency of books you can get cheaper. And if you know what you're looking for, and CBCS has free notes, PGX has free notes you have to email about, CGC has notes, but you have to pay about $5 per book, depending on the year of the book that it came out or how old the label is. Mm-hmm. But yes, the potential to get books like this that I picked up at my local shop. If you haven't heard of the series, it's kind of hot right now. It's called Something is Killing the Children. Mm-hmm. It's about something that's killing the children. It's pretty good right now. So this is a 9.4. That my shop picked that got back. They never had it pressed. I found the defects. They had the notes because they submitted themselves, and they said, slight bend. I'm like, I would like to buy this off you. And then they sold it to me. So I think this is the concept of you find a 9.4. I paid a lot cheaper than a 9.8 for it. I'm going to crack it and submit it. And hopefully if I get a 9.8, it's a big win.
Absolutely.
But the CPR concept has become, a very common trait more often than you think nowadays, just because of what you can do to get a book from an 8.0 to a 9.0, or let's say a 6.5 to an 8.5, or just a 9.6 to a 9.8.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of you're taking a chance of increasing the value tremendously sometimes for a very small price.
Yes, you can. It can backfire. We both are fully aware of how that can backfire. You look through any of our old videos, we are fully well aware of how it doesn't work out great.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's become such a common trait that like when I'm selling, because I have a lot of books that are close at 9496 because I had them pressed, they didn't make the cut. People ask me online like, hey, has this book already been pressed and clean? And it's like a 9496. I'm like, yeah, it has. So like the potential for getting that bump isn't really there, maybe. Right. But everyone's looking for that nowadays. And when that was something that a lot of YouTubers were doing maybe a year or two ago or a couple years back, it's now become such a normal thing now that anyone who looks at like old books look for grader notes, or like when people sell graded books, they're like people's number one thing when they say like, oh, I have this graded book, it's never been pressed. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's a selling point now.
That is a selling. Like I saw someone selling a
pressable defects, and it's never been pressed or clean.
Right, and already graded. I had someone say someone was selling a Fantastic Four number 11 5.0. Oh, wow. And the thing was like, oh, it's never been pressed though. I'm like, still a stupid $8,000 book.
Yeah. And I mean, just because someone says like, yes, it's been pressed and clean, like that doesn't necessarily count it out. Nope. Still, if you can get your hands on the book and look at it, really look at it and look at the pressable defects, look at those graders notes, because not all pressers are created equally.
Nope.
You know, you might have had someone that was maybe more of an amateur, or they didn't leave it in as long, or maybe it could have used another one.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's always something to keep in mind too. I've got my Marvel Spotlight number 5 back here. Yep. And right now it's a 3.0. And once I calmed down from the excitement of receiving this book, that absolutely made my head explode.
Right.
I really started looking it over, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of creases and bends in here,
right,
on the front and back. So I was like, all right, grader's notes.
Yeah.
Looked it up. Bends, creases, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you can physically see with your blind eye, it has not been pressed or cleaned. I can see dirt on it. I can see that, okay, I'm going to crack this book open. I'm going to send it to someone, have them take care of it. And I think it could bump to a 4.0 or a 5. If it bumped, you know, when you get into something like that, I mean, even bumping a half a grade to like a full grade, you're talking several $100s in value.
It's insane.
And it's going to cost me maybe $50 total to get it pressed, clean, sent in, and come back to me. And I may have increased it. You know, the worst thing that can happen is it goes back to a 3.0 or a 2.5. I'm not getting rid of it either way, but I mean, of course I would, you know, if you can increase the value on something, why wouldn't you do it?
Right. So, and that's where you get such a minimal investment of a press, like someone to press it, right? For like $12, and then like grading's 20, right? So you're investing another $30 into your book, and you think it'll have a better shot at becoming more valuable to like help increase the value of your collection. And it's become something that like it is crazy when you talk about like the small little jumps where, like you said, like I had a 6.5 Vault of Horror 14 from 1950. Still the one of the greatest successes I've had, lucky ever. It went from a 6.5 to an 8.5. It was already graded at a 6.5. It had a 2-point jump. Huge. And it increased in value by like, I think it's like $1,000.
That's huge. For
you know what I mean? So it's like the little things where like pressing has other benefits too, besides like, you know, it is massive on what a press can do for books. You know, take a 9.6 ASM 252 that I had pressed and cracked open and resubmitted to get my 9.8. It went from being a $200 book to a $1,200 book.
Yeah. I mean, there's another book you're real familiar with, that Ultimate Fallout 4. That's a huge difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8. You know, most books do. You know, the 9.6 to 9.8 difference is usually pretty huge.
Yep.
You know, and then
it's always huge. Always.
So, I mean, if you can find one that looks like it could be, you know, worked on and improved.
Panda knows this very well.
Yeah, absolutely. He took a 9.4 and made it a 9.8 on the Ultimate Fallout 4, and I will never forgive him for it.
Neither will I.
I let him know as soon as I saw the video. Like, I'm not your friend no more, and I will never forgive you.
I have CPR. I have cracked open 4 Ultimate Fallout 4s, and plus submitted 3 other raws, all 9.6s. One day, but not this year. But yeah, pressing is a huge benefit to books. If you have stuff already graded, go to shows, look up notes, spend the time and spend them. Depends on the book. If it's a $400 book, buy the notes. you will thank yourself if it says anything called spine stress. Can't do anything about that. Move on.
Yep. And there's also the possibility of a book. I mean, if you're chasing a 9.8, like on most modern books, that is what most of us do, is chase the 9.8 for a lot of modern books.
Yeah.
And I will say, like just because you press a book and clean a book does not guarantee you a 9.8. It does improve your chances, but sometimes you can take the chance of not pressing and cleaning it and still hit the 9.8. Yeah. Those two Something's Killing the Children #1s I have, one of them was a copy I bought off the shelf, unbagged and boarded, read it in the truck on the way back to Nick's house, packed it up in my luggage, brought it back home, sat in my short box over here. The other one sat on the shelf for almost a year. I bought it. It sat in my box for like 6 months. Didn't press either one of them. I looked them over really good. I was like, man, these look like, I don't even think these really need a press. I'm going to chance it. Yep. I took the chance and they hit, but
they have surprisingly good paper quality.
Right. And that was what I was going to say.
Feel the cover of that book, it's a little bit more rigid than what you would imagine it to be.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's just that series, but it was surprisingly nice quality stuff.
Yeah. Boom Studios is one that definitely you have a good chance of obtaining a 9.8 quality book off the shelf more than like a Marvel or a DC a lot of times.
All right. Except for those darn Kanto books.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother
story. That was IDW, right?
IDW. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But Boom Books, good quality product paper right there. IDW, we'll worry about that later. But no, it is true. Like, but that's a beautiful thing though. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're going to spend the $12 on getting it pressed, let's say it came back in 9.8, you wasted $12.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you'll always kick yourself if it doesn't, and you could have.
Yep. And then you try it again, get it pressed, and it comes back in 9.8. It's like, well, I just wasted $34 with shipping and grading fees. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's something I would ever get into a habit of doing, not pressing my books before sending them.
It depends. It depends.
I will say I just sent off a few more Something's Killing the Children's.
Ooh.
And I only pressed 3 of the 6.
All right. Let's see what happens. Like, that's the get to roll the dice and see what happens.
Yeah, I took a chance, but I mean, I keep there's certain series that I keep double boarded.
Always.
And there's certain books that, like some of these books I literally pulled out of the diamond box myself at the shop.
Ooh.
And bagged and boarded them like I was taking the pick of the litter, baby.
Yep.
So, we'll see. I could be kicking myself. I would never recommend to someone, don't worry about pressing that, because I don't want to be the one at fault when it comes back wrong, So, and now the conversation we're having, I may just go ahead and hit my buddy John up and say, hey, go ahead and just slide the other 3 in there for me too.
Right.
Because it is something you definitely want to if you're going to go through the effort of investing the money to get it graded, what's another $10 and a couple of more weeks?
Right.
It's definitely something I would do.
It's true. And but at the end of the day, if you don't care about the grade, you don't need to get it pressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A pressing is always optional. You don't have to press a book to get graded. If you just want to get it graded. There's no harm in that at all. It's all about just like the way you collect, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. That's the motto.
Right? I thought that was spot on somewhere.
So another hot topic, the last thing we're going to get into, this is something that has come up in the comments several times. We have people that are diehard, no pressing.
Yeah.
Pressing is cheating.
Yes.
And
100%.
I definitely can see where they're coming from.
Yep.
I mean, from every aspect.
That's old school.
Absolutely. They say it's restoration and they don't add the restoration label. Now, with restoration, we kind of talked about it earlier. There's different levels of restoration, but it is still nonetheless. I mean, you're taking something and you're taking it from this form and turning it into this form. you're taking this bend and you're making it flat again. So I can see that. But what are your thoughts, and what would you say to the people that are against the pressing or say it's restoration for pressing and cleaning?
So at the end of the day, if you go ahead and Google Webster, because no one has a dictionary in their house anymore, and if you look up restoration and then restore, it's taking something and taking it back to its original shape.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, when you press a book, you are restoring the book. Now, the reason it doesn't get the purple restoration label, according to CGC, because you haven't added any third-party material to the book to increase the quality of the pages or color. And that's where it's all like, it's a whole different level of restoration. So like when they send a book to CGC, if it's done correctly, they can't tell if the book's been pressed, because their machines, if it looks like it came out of the box, then it looks like it came out of the box. But their machines can 100% tell if there's chemicals or if there's tape, trim. They can find that out. And that's where restoration gets verified as a third-party property adding to the book. And that's what they determine as restoration. But pressing a book, you are restoring the book from its current condition to its original state. It is a form of restoration, but not one that would then make the book fraudulent to what it actually looks like.
Yeah, I think that what you said there on the tail end is absolutely the perfect response to the comments about restoration and it being cheating and this, that, and the other. I mean, of course, everyone is able to have their own opinions on everything.
Correct.
And if you don't want to buy a book that's been pressed or clean, like that's perfectly fine. Absolutely. And some people get angry because they're like, CGC doesn't put on here if it's been pressed or clean. Well, like you said, if it's done properly and correctly, there's no way of really knowing.
Correct.
Best way you could go about it is just buy it raw at that point.
Correct.
But yeah, absolutely, it is a form of restoration. But there's times where you can take a bag and board, put your book in it, double board it, stick it in a long box, cram slap full of books, and over time it's going to flatten that book out and make it look nice. You could sit a couple of big omnibus on top of it on accident for a couple of weeks, and you could press something out that was super minor maybe.
We call that backyard pressing.
Yeah, I mean, me and Nick tried to do that with our Hong Kong Fooey to try to fix a spine roll. And for about 6 months, we left it, and it did not help it because it had been messed up for probably 20, 30 years. So it definitely had to go to the presser. And they oh my gosh, that thing came back insanely different. I mean, look, a new book.
Yep.
But
yeah, the restoration, though, is always a touchy subject, and it will be forever a touchy subject unless CGC wants to change the definition of what they deter as restoration. And a cool part too is that most of the time, some restored purple label books are cheaper. Not often, actually. I looked this up actually a couple weeks back, and like they're not that much cheaper than I thought they would be. But sometimes they are cheaper, and you can actually find certain pressers out there that can actually look for the restoration, because restoration is labeled in 3 degrees: A, B, and C. A, B being a little bit more professional, C being, if it's C, whatever it is will need to be cut out of the book in order, in essence, to remove that purple label, which would then drop the value of the book in grade-wise, but it would have that blue label, which is more of a sellable point. But some pressers out there and cleaners can look forward to see what's restored from the notes and things like that, and with like black lights and like UV lights, things like that, and remove that to try to get it back to a blue label. It's not always successful, and it's definitely a huge risk.
Oh yeah,
you want to try that.
Yeah, and I've even seen books where you can tell, like, a little kid like colored on Spider-Man with a red marker, and they'll consider that restoration.
They can sometimes, correct.
And I'm like, and so I kind of look at that too, like, all right, like they consider that restoration, but pressing and cleaning is also restoration. It's like, but you kind of see where there's like a difference there where like, this is silly. It's obviously not someone trying to improve the book. So like, I don't see a big problem with pressing and cleaning a book and just making it present better. I mean, you do it with your car.
Right. I think it really just boils down to when you add stuff to the book.
Yeah.
Like adding chemicals, like anything that is added on top of the book, spine tape, trimming, colored
staples,
extra
marrying
staples,
covers,
you have then added a foreign material to the book. And when you add a foreign material, no matter what happened, most of the time you're going to get that purple label that you always are sad about. And you got to be really careful too when you buy it. I've never seen really a modern book have a purple label. I'm sure they're out there, but it's always older books. And if it looks like it's too good to be true, sometimes it is. And like, especially because like the trimming is something you really have to look out for. That destroys books' value.
Yeah. And it can be sometimes it can be they can do so little trimming just to tighten up those corners.
Yep.
I mean, and like it could be very hard for someone with an untrained eye or not know what they're looking at. They could just, man, this Hulk 181's got 90-degree corners that'll cut you looking at them. It's like,
right. And so,
yeah, like those books didn't really come like that though, bro. So you got to remember that too. I mean, those books back then did not come with those needle point ends like we're getting now. So if you see that book has been trimmed to look that way, and CGC is going to catch it every time
immediately because it's a foreign material, or in essence it was something that was removed off the book on purpose, and they have machines that look for that stuff. That's why that if a press and clean is done properly, they're like, oh, this book was just taken care of, because they can't find anything added to the book. And that's where, like, when you talked about how like that Hong Kong Fooey, right, it would never bend down. That's where then you get like one of those like humidifiers or like the water chambers, and that'll loosen up the pages, and then the press hot and cold and leave it. Like, it's a whole science project behind it. But restoration is always a touchy subject. Purple labels are always a challenge, and they're always rough when you see someone get it. But if you don't mind, they're sometimes cheaper. Not always. Not all those old books, but sometimes it's cheaper. So if you need to have one, it's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, me and you've been talking recently. Avengers 4 is a book I'm really, really wanting to get, and I'm telling you right now, if the price difference was significant enough, I would buy a purple label of that all day long. But like you said, book like that, it does not matter. No, it does not matter. It is still stupid.
That crazy at the end of the day, because I think that people are now getting better at removing that restoration. So I think then like the concept of like it being a dead book once it hits that purple label is no longer a thing, because the people that are pressing and cleaning, like I saw Gary Kendra at like Impressive Comic Pressing Services. He posted on his Facebook. He took like this super old Batman book, 5.0 purple, got a 6.0 blue label after press and remove the restore. I about died. I'm like, how did you do that, you wizard? He's like, it took forever.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it can be something as simple as just tape on the cover.
Correct.
And while that sounds really scary, some people look at it as a minor challenge. I can handle it, no problem. And they can get it off. I know I've seen Bubs from Bubs Comics talk about getting tape off of books. I mean, he does it all the time. And it's a very, very, it's not something I would try, because it's something that you could literally just destroy the book trying to do it. But it's something that could take you from the purple label to the blue label.
Right.
And there are some pressers out there that clean books and are able to do that as well. So if you have a book like that, again, that's probably not something you're going to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, CCS, I got this Batman 189 here, and it's got a little tape on one of the corners. Is that something you think you can take off or not?
They actually
send you pictures of it and you can tell me? No. So
CCS
that's for
offers that, though.
Do what?
CCS offers restoration removal.
Oh, okay.
They do actually. I looked it around the other day. It is for like certain books, and they do actually call you. And let you know. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Again, that's why we call him Skeff's Comic Knowledge, because he is always dropping it.
But yeah, CCS there is a restoration removal level on CCS's page, and that's one where like it's like undetermined value, and they do call you, because at the end of the day, sometimes they just cut out pieces of the book.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that's definitely something like they don't want to go cutting stuff off and not tell you.
Right, you know what I mean? So it's one of those weird things. Like it's possible, but it's like maybe not your best option to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you'll always have people who say pressing a book and cleaning is taboo. That's just a normal thing we live in nowadays. My friend, you have Marvel, you have DC. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a taboo on something when pressing and cleaning comes up. And people say it's a form of restoration. Totally is. Not going to argue that. But will it get a perp label? Never.
Yeah. It's not something you're going to be penalized for.
Nope. Never. Oh, unless you press it incorrectly and use the wrong Teflon material at the top. Because if you press it incorrectly, you can actually cause like a grid to appear on your cover. If you're not using the proper material. That's something that when you learn how to do it yourself, look out for.
Yeah, no cheesecloth.
No, that actually destroy the book. 100% destroy the book.
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
Something to look out for. But yeah, restoration will always be a touchy subject, always. But let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. Like, have you ever received any books that you've wanted to like restore or has a restoration? Because I'm curious. Like, it's a very new subject for me in the past couple months, and it's just another door to open to this comic book world of like, what's over here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, hope you guys enjoyed this video. We talked about why to press and clean books, being able to tell if a book can be cracked, CPR'd, and come back better. We've talked about the restoration. We've talked about deciding on how to pick someone to do the pressing and the cleaning. And we hope that we've been able to give you guys enough insight here to help you along if it's something you have not done before or you're just getting started in. I know Skeff is extremely knowledgeable on this subject, and his link is going to be in the description. And he is chug-a-lugging towards 2,000. And if you're not already subbed up to him, if you enjoy being entertained even this much, definitely go hit the subscribe button, because there's not a lot of people out there you're going to get the entertainment and the knowledge at the same time from. And I'm not just hyping him up because he's here, because I talk good about him behind his back all the time. But definitely a great creator here. He's been an awesome friend to me. He's gave me some great advice that has helped me along with my collecting. And so definitely please go check out his channel and drop a comment, guys. If you use someone as a third-party presser and cleaner, if you want to drop their information for the other people who are scrolling through the comments, because people are going to be looking, definitely do that. I'm going to leave a link to Avery Comic Pressing in the link. And Skeff, do you have anybody you want to? Yeah,
I'll leave a link to Impressive Comic Book Pressing Services. Gary Kendra out in New York, who I used for all of my like stupid expensive books.
So there you go. You guys will have 2 links in the description along with Skeff's for some very reputable people who can press and clean books. So like I said, drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought. We'd love to know if we've been able to answer some questions that have been asked.
Or if you have more questions.
Absolutely. More questions
is great.
Good. And guys, what do you want us to discuss next? Like we're having Skeff back. It's inevitable. So what do you guys want to hear from Skeff next? He's really been really good at picking books to send to CGC, and be able to pick out those 9.8s, except for Ultimate Fallout 4.
I have nailed some other stupid books though. I got ASM 252. ASM 202, all new Marvel Now. I'm stop rambling. But
if you guys are looking for knowledge on any of that you would like for us to bring Skeff back and talk to him about, drop a comment and let us know on that as well. Again, guys, please make sure you go subscribe to Skeff and let him know that you saw him here on our channel, and go check out his content, because I'm telling you guys, it's something I look forward to every week. And when I don't get a video, I message him and ask him why. So appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. You guys are the best part of Two Brothers Comics. And as always, Skeff,
collect your way.